Alright guys, what is up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So I guess this will be another episode of Jack Talks, maybe? Or I might just title it, The Future of XDefiant and Call of Duty is Looking Bright. I might just go with that. And I've got about 41 minutes or so of brand new footage of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War that I recently just recorded before recording this. So I've cut out all the stuff in between, so you're not going to be watching the lobby or anything like that. You're just going to be looking at gameplay. So and nothing was skipped, so therefore you're going to see the good, the bad, and all that kind of stuff. And that's how it is with Call of Duty. And when it comes to Call of Duty, I just don't good gameplay really doesn't matter, especially I'd rather show off legit gameplay that is mediocre rather than good gameplay that would be questionable, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's get into the topic of discussion today. And I'm not simply talking out of my ass when saying this as well. I am actually very, and there's damn good reason for it, and many reasons, that I am very optimistic about the future of both Call of Duty and XDefiant. And we're going to start with Call of Duty. So why in the hell am I optimistic about the future of Call of Duty? Well, everything kind of goes together. So where to start? So with the future of Call of Duty, I am ecstatic because, well, first, when I got up today on my way to the gym, I was listening to a video in my car by a gentleman that goes by Destin, and he's recently reached over 100,000 subscribers, and he used to be like one of the main, he used to be for, I think, for GameStop or IGN or GameSpot or IGN or something like that. He used to be one of the guys that used to cover stuff over there. And right now he's got his own channel and he's doing his own thing and he's doing very well at it. And I couldn't be happier. And one of the things that he's doing is he's constantly he's covering the news when it comes to gaming. So, and Phil Spencer, ever since basically the acquisition of Microsoft Blizzard, he's going to be basically taking over Bobby Kotick's spot as soon as Bobby Kotick leaves in January. And Phil basically asked him to stay on until January, right, of next year. And what Phil has been doing is he's been going to like all the different companies, all the different studios and stuff like that. And you know what? He doesn't even want to discuss business. He wants to he's basically the ultimate fan at this point. I mean, he's a gamer. We all know this. And he's obviously a fan of gaming, which is also a big difference maker, which we'll get into in a minute. But he basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here when I say this, like, just show me your stuff. I'm really anxious to see what you guys have been creating, because you guys are, you guys are developers. Like, show me what you got. I'm really, because he's a fan. And he didn't even want to discuss business, and he just wanted to say, look, he's all about letting creators create. And to some degree, it's been kind of a bad thing, because when you look at what they did with a few of the previous games that have been slated to come out recently, it's like they had to be under closer watch. But I'm pretty sure Phil and company really learned their lesson when it comes to that. And I'm pretty sure adjustments have been made and will continue to be made in order for them to basically have this sort of balance to where it's like, he's going to let the creators create, but at the same time, it's like, don't do this shit again. So that's great. I mean, creators are not going to be under Phil. They're not going to be held under a short leash, so to speak, unlike Call of Duty, right? And when you look at the developers of Call of Duty, right now, Modern Warfare 3, obviously, let's get into another reason why I'm optimistic. Modern Warfare 3's numbers are low. According to Plain Truth and 8 Thoughts, and 8 Thoughts did a deep dive, so to speak. So the numbers of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3's multiplayer are pretty damn low. Probably the lowest of any other Call of Duty that we've had ever. So with that being said, this is good news, because we've always said if we want change, we got to affect the pockets. And I would say that the numbers would be even lower if it wasn't for those shills, or for the people that are being that are promoting the game because they've got like some sort of, I don't know, whatever they've got behind the scenes or whatever it may be, whatever. I don't care. Blah, 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 whatever. Because you guys know how that works. It's no different than sports and celebrities and all that kind of stuff. There's going to be fans out there, whether they're hardcore fans or casual fans. Just because they heard this celebrity has this, then they're going to buy that because they have that, or because they're being sponsored by that or whatever, right? So it's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's a story as old as time, guys. It is, believe it or not, it does draw money. There's a reason why these celebrities, right, have gotten a shit ton more money from endorsements than they have in their, field that they were in, right? And the same thing goes with games. I'm pretty sure they're making a good money from being sponsored by some, from some of these other companies or whatnot. And depending on what that company is, and depending on how big the gamer or streamer is, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, let's let's continue to talk. So the numbers are low, so this is good because of the fact that it's going to stimulate change. Plus, you've got Microsoft going on, and after Bobby Kotick leaves, Phil is going to be filling in that spot. And right now, he's just basically trying to get to know all the people as best he can, like flying to all the different studios and stuff like that, and being there firsthand, and knowing and understanding exactly like how everything's working, you know, what their concerns are, talking, communicating. This is something that is big. Are you kidding me? Communication is everything. Any kind of relationship in any category that you can think of, communication is everything, right? And so is trust. You know, at the center of everything is trust. So with Phil, you know, they got to trust him, and at the same time, he's got to trust the developers to do what they're doing. And there has to be communication at the center of it, because if the you know, if these guys are planning to do this, you know, it's like, okay, they got to follow through on that. You know, it's not like they can't be like, okay, we're gonna do this, Phil, and then they end up doing something different. It's like, you know, because Phil doesn't really want to micromanage. He wants to let the developers do what they do, and this is where I think Call of Duty can shine. And I think we're gonna get a lot more. You know, if you guys thought Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer Games were very different from one another before, it's going to be even more now if Phil Spencer gives them that kind of freedom. And that's going to be very interesting for the Call of Duty community. And at the same time, the developers know, the devs know that EOMM/SBMM, skill-based matchmaking, engagement optimization matchmaking, they know it's bad. Okay, they know it's bad. Skill-based matchmaking only belongs in ranked, and engagement optimization matchmaking does not belong in the game, period. They know it's bad. Somehow, some way, somebody thought through statistics or whatever that EOMM actually benefits the game because it increases microtransaction sales or whatnot. I'm not fully entirely sure if this is 100% true or not, but either way, we know that it has to be toned down, right? Like, again, I've said, like, if you ever played a game with legit skill-based matchmaking, not engagement optimization matchmaking, but legit skill-based matchmaking, the experience is that much more different, and dare I say it, much more enjoyable than EOMM. That's literally rigged, or where the game's trying its absolute ass off via algorithm to mess with your success in any given point in a match, right? Whether it's because it spawns you in a certain spot, or all of a sudden, you know, your bullets might not register, or your aim assist might decrease, or your hitboxes are not going to be the same size as the noobs or whatnot, and they got a bigger hitbox on you while you have a smaller hitbox on them, etc., etc. The list goes on. It's true. It's been patented, okay? So, and broken down by Why So Serious himself, by the way. Now, with that being said, there is, like, let me put it to you this way. The true skill, which is the matchmaking system that they're doing with Halo, for instance, with Microsoft does with Halo. The true skill system is, you know, the lesser strict of the two, which makes the game more enjoyable and more doable to play. So I know that they're going to be playing with it a lot, but the thing is, whatever the current system is, the chances of that current system being eliminated or changed or whatever it is, are pretty high, because the numbers of the game have been low. And one of the things that's been trending for God knows how many days now is SBMM. On Twitter or X, SBMM has been in the top 5 trending for like a long ass time. As I'm looking at it right now on my X page right now, okay, it says, let me update it because it constantly updates. Let me see. Yep, it says 3,685 posts, gaming, trending, skill-based matchmaking right there. So yeah, every single day over the last week or so, I have seen this stuff. It's there all the time. Skill-based matchmaking is up there. So we know that Phil knows about this. We know that, you know, Phil is probably going to address this. Okay, let's put it this way. There's a higher chance that Phil is going to address or do something about it compared to the guys before. Microsoft is actually more customer friendly than old Activision. Let's put it that way. And to top it all off, Phil Spencer's boss himself, and I'm paraphrasing his words when I say this, has been saying that if it was up to him, there would be no exclusives. In other words, any game that comes out, you could play it on any platform, regardless of whatever platform you're on. Whether you're on Nintendo, whether you're on PlayStation, whether you're on Xbox, whether you're on PC. Like, if it was up to him, it's like, imagine all the games that you think of, right? Imagine Valorant, CSGO, Rainbow Six Siege, you know, all these games. Like there's a few of them that you can play on every single platform, but not every one of those, right? Like Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, Halo, Gears of War, all that. Imagine everybody, Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, like cross-platform play with all of those. That would be amazing. You know why? Because first of all, you get to play with more people, right? So when you have a higher population count, that's going to help the game tremendously, right? Not just from a financial standpoint, but also from a population standpoint. And therefore, the money is going to flow even better, you know, because you're going to have more people playing. And on top of that, when there's easier access to play that game, every game is just going to succeed more. It's just the way it works, right? Simple. Now, and of course, there's going to be a lot more communication, a lot more feedback when it comes to that. And when you're looking at games like the upcoming XDefiant, I mean, the future's looking bright, man. The future's looking bright. Because before, we only had XDefiant to rely on. And now it's like, well, now, you know, Call of Duty might be putting itself in a position to do a 180, right? Now, and again, the biggest reason is because the pockets have been affected because the numbers are not up there. Now, I know some of you guys might be thinking that COD Mobile is still COD Mobile and still the king of what brings in money. Sure. And at the same time, you know, I know some of you guys are like, well, Warzone's right around the corner or whatnot. Okay. But even if Warzone were to not bring as much money or whatnot, or if it's like the lowest impact, then you've got a problem. But the thing is, Warzone and traditional multiplayer are two very different beasts. It's a completely different game. So, and the thing is with Call of Duty, especially since the purchase now, right? Since Microsoft has them, from a business standpoint, they're also going to want return on investment. But they're also more patient. Activision has been wanting, old Activision under Bobby Kotick has been wanting everything to come out year after year after year, no matter what the quality of the game, no matter how much the developers had to endure, no matter which developer they had to get from who knows where in order to develop the game, despite the fact that they didn't know what they're doing. It didn't matter. They just had to release something, right? Hence what we got right now with Modern Warfare 3. So this is going to be very interesting with Treyarch's new game coming up next year. And in terms of the changes that are going to be implemented, if any, which I think there will be, in terms of everything that's going on internal, as well as Treyarch's own intelligence and what they're capable of it. Now, Von der Haar is no longer with Treyarch. We know that. But Von himself is not the main guy behind, you know, the decision-making, number one. Even he's limited, right? So, now, in Black Ops 4, Von der Haar was basically in charge of Blackout. In Black Ops 3, Vaughn has been reported all these years later to have been said, and he didn't say it, I don't know if he said it himself or whatnot, but Vaughn wasn't in charge of the multiplayer in Black Ops 3. Like he was, you know, he was kind of there doing whatever, but he wasn't like, he didn't have the kind of impact that he had in Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2. Okay? So, and everybody universally loves and praises Black Ops 3. People still love and praise Black Ops 4, especially now in comparison to what we've been getting recently. And a lot of people are even saying right now that Black Ops Cold War is actually underappreciated. And to a certain extent, I agree. But at the same time, there's also problems with it and such. But at the end of the day, they've been following this kind of formula. Now, with Call of Duty under Microsoft and starting next year in 2024 and even in this year, starting in 2023, and what the life cycle of Modern Warfare 3 is going to develop, or you know, under Microsoft, and with Phil Spencer taking over in January after Bobby Kotick leaves, guess what? It's like you have the chance to see the biggest change with Modern Warfare 3. You know why? Not just because Phil Spencer would allow it, but also because of the fact that the guy, to my knowledge, because I saw him on Twitter or X, Aaron Hanlon was the guy that was responsible for the overhaul in Call of Duty World War II. And the only thing holding it back from happening was that Schofield and Condrey basically held back. And then after they were gone, guess what? Boom. So now all we're waiting on is for Bobby Kotick to leave and for Phil Spencer to take that spot, which he's getting ready to do. But what he's doing is he's prioritizing and getting to know the teams, because if he were to just take over immediately after the acquisition was made last month, guess what? He wouldn't have the time. He wants to take the time to personally go over there himself to all these different places, to fly over there and to literally see everything firsthand. He wants to see the developers. He wants to talk to the developers. He wants to have conversations with them. He wants to He wants to know what it is they want, questions that they have for him. He wants to answer their questions. He wants to talk about games. And he's also a fan, which is exactly what we need when it comes to somebody of that kind of power, right? In that kind of position. We don't just want somebody who knows how corporate works. We need somebody who understands the other side. We need to understand somebody who's been on both sides of the coin. And that's exactly what Phil is. Now, is Phil perfect? Hell no. Has Phil succeeded in everything that he's ever done? Hell no. But at the same time, he like when he got to the position to where he is now, before he gets, into his new position, which will be even higher at, taking over Activision and everything, he basically endured a lot of problems that the other dude from, the beginning of the Xbox One era left, right? Because they were going to be in contract with the NFL. They were going to have they had the Connect attached to it. The price was $100 higher than the other consoles and whatnot. And their focus wasn't 100% on games and stuff like that. And it's like, people were pissed. Like, they did a complete 180 from what the successful 360 era did. And Phil had to endure all that. And with the inclusion of Game Pass and with what Phil's trying to do and all that kind of stuff, plus you had the vid going on, right? And plus you've been having a whole bunch of other internal problems and everything like that, but he's endured all that. And at the end of the day, overall, I like to say that he's probably succeeded more than he's failed, right? And in my opinion, it's only going to get better because, again, he's one of us. And Microsoft over the last few years has been positioning themselves, especially with this big ass acquisition, which is a big fucking deal. They've been positioning themselves in order to better the future of gaming in the long run. And that basically says to me that he's not like, okay, they do want return on investment, and I'm sure they're going to have plans in order to have that. But they're going to want to have their cake and eat it too. So at the same time, they're going to find a way to where the developers are going to be allowed to do what they do and create and take the time they need, and perhaps maybe not release on a yearly basis. But there will be something else in place in order to keep us, the fans, happy and satiated and busy until we get to that next point to where the potential of these newer Call of Duty titles will be reached. And they're also going to be so different from one another because of the freedom that's going to be given. So they're concerned about the long run. That's the difference. Microsoft is concerned about the long run. Old Activision was concerned of, like, get these games now. It doesn't matter who's developing them. Get the game out now. It's got some bugs. No problem. Let's release it. Are we going to reuse this and that? Okay, so what? We're going to put a premium price tag on it. We're going to promote it. We're going to market it. And that's going to make the money. Release it, right? If Microsoft is actually concerned about the long run, then they're actually not going to take that approach. They're going to take a different approach. Once Microsoft realized that they can't do what Sony or what Nintendo have been doing, and they need to find their own way to do it because what they tried before, especially with what was inherited when Phil took over the position, obviously didn't work, and it set them back way further to where Xbox was a laughing stock of the community. Well, I have to say, like, right now it's like Halo. They're slowly crawling back from it, and that not only that, they're also positioning themselves for a bright future. And in that aspect, I have to say the future is looking bright. Now, it's going to take some more time in order for us to see all this, no doubt about it. We live in a world to where gamers and everything like that are more impatient now than ever. I get that. I understand that. But at the same time, if the future really does look that bright, and if all these things have a chance of happening and do happen, I don't think we're going to have anything to complain about in the long run. Sometimes this is what needs to happen in order for it to actually happen. The old saying, you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. So, and there's definitely been a lot of eggs broken when it comes to Microsoft. Now, on top of that, you got Sony, you got Nintendo. Because of this acquisition, it's going to force Sony to do even better. And Sony has done a really good job with their first party exclusives. But overall, as a company, for people that prefer the Sony brand, it's going to force them to get even better. And Jim Ryan is, I think after spring or something like that, he's no longer going to be with the company, and there's somebody else that's going to be with the company. And right now, from reports that I've seen through videos and stuff like that, that there's a bit of a struggle, to say the least, with Sony behind the scenes at this point, and they're making a whole bunch of decisions that are very questionable. But despite all that, if you think about it, Microsoft did that too. Nintendo did that too. You guys remember the what was it? The Wii U? That was a failure. The Wii was a success. The Wii U was a failure, but they learned. And right now, Nintendo, they're not saints or anything like that. But hopefully, their next console will be good. But what I'm trying to say is that there were big time mistakes that all companies have made, and at the end of the day, it got better. Like, remember with PlayStation, the mistake that they made in the past with the PS3, and then they kind of had to kind of, you know, change it up, and then they were coming back from that. That's basically the way the cookie crumbles. Eggs need to break sometimes. It's kind of like building muscle. You know, you got to break that muscle down, then you got to nourish yourself, get some rest, and rinse and repeat. And that muscle will grow back stronger, bigger, whatever, however you want it, depending on how you train it. But you get the point, right? It's got to be broken down. It's got to be trained. And this is what happens. This is the process that happens for improvement. And this is why. I think at this point, there might be a chance to where there is a chance to where the worst that we've seen with Call of Duty could almost be over. It could almost be over. And I think this upcoming new year is going to be a very bright year for the community of Call of Duty, because of the fact that there's change on many different aspects. New ownership with this kind of philosophy, which is different than old Activision's philosophy, right? Big deal. That is a big, big deal. A guy that's in charge that is both a gamer and understands the corporate stuff, that's a big deal. That's the person we need to be in the position. What else? You got XDefiant about to come out, right? You've got the fact that Xbox doesn't care about exclusives. That's a big deal. Like, they don't want exclusives to exist. So they want everybody to play together and all that stuff, which is great. You've got all the development companies and all the companies beyond Call of Duty that are under their umbrella now. So everything's looking bright for everybody, not just people that are owners of Xbox or owners of an Xbox system or an owner of a PC, but for literally everybody, whether you're Sony, Nintendo, does not matter. The future's looking bright. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled a rabbit out of their ass and basically go the extra mile and make more happen than what we think. So whatever's going on in those, you know, during Phil Spencer's visit, where he's going to see all these other creators and stuff like that, guess what? I think the future is going to be looking very bright, man. I'm not going to lie. I think the future is looking very bright, and I think that the game itself, a lot of the games themselves are going to be really good. And when it comes to XDefiant, again, it is that one game that, despite whatever happens, XDefiant is that one game that's going to stick to its guns, and it's going to stick to its vision. And as far as I know, I think Ubisoft and Microsoft have some sort of relationship. And you know what the funny thing is? Back in the day when COD 4 was developed, it was developed with 64 developers. Like, it was 60-something developers when that game was developed. And I have to say that if XDefiant has about that many people developing it, or even more, then they can do some good things, especially since all they're focused on is the multiplayer. And the fact that they know what they're doing, they're being transparent, they're setting the tone. And despite the fact that they're a very small company, or excuse me, not a small company, a small development studio, all that could change, you know? And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Microsoft, but again, all that can change, because if they play their cards right, it will make a difference, it will get noticed, and we, the community, both casual and hardcore alike, and content creator alike, our support for the game is going to be noticed. You know, you can't underestimate us either. I know that we content creators and such, and streamers and all that, I know that we're the minority, right? And the hardcore, we're the minority. I understand that. But at the same time, we can create a really big impact, right? So if we do this, then good things will come of it. So I could go on and on, but I think I pretty much said everything that I really wanted to say in terms of the gist of everything. The future of COD is looking bright, at least potentially, and XDefiant's future is even looking bright. And I know I didn't even talk about XDefiant that much, but really, if you think about it, there's really not much to talk about than what I've already said. The game, when it comes out, is going to be as optimal as possible. We know that transparency is going to be very high. We know that the developers truly care. And we know that the game that we want, the kind of game that we, the arcade first-person shooter community, actually wants, is going to be provided to us. especially with patience. Now, with that being said, is the game going to come out in December? Is the game going to come out in January? We don't know. But I would probably say that either one of those is a good bet, and it's not too far away. And at the end of the day, we will end up getting XDefiant. That's the thing. I think a lot of people at this point have gotten to the point to where they're thinking to a certain degree that XDefiant's never going to come out. It will come out, and it's likely to come out in January, or maybe even December, especially if Modern Warfare 3's numbers continue to decline. It'll be a perfect time for them to reach their holiday schedule, right? Because there's a little bit of a boost within the holiday season, of course, for any game that comes out. And at the same time, we're going to get what we want. But if it does come out in January, that just goes to show you the developer's commitment and the support of their publisher for XDefiant. Because from a publisher standpoint, they want their money. But if they're willing to compromise to where they're like, yeah, let's just get the game out to a best date as possible, and there you go. That is a good combination. But anyway, and that's why I'm optimistic about XDefiant as well. Because again, if it comes out on holiday season, great, we get to play sooner. Comes out in January, great, we get to play an even better and more optimized version of it, and possibly more content. And it also shows you that the developers as well as the publishers are working in sync, because there's been a compromise that's been made, which is absolutely necessity. There's got to be a give and take somewhere. And with Activision, that was not a thing. And now, with under the ownership of Microsoft and with Phil in charge, there will be a thing. Under old Activision and Bobby Kotick, no, it wasn't. There was no compromise. Now, there will be. So that's why I'm optimistic. So let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. I know this has been a longer video than usual, but I had to make it. I wanted to talk about it, and there you have it. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody or anybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I really appreciate it. Thank you all very much for coming by the stream and saying hello. And I'm going to try to see what I can do to get the footage fixed. I have no idea why it's acting up the way it is, but I will do my part and hopefully it works. But with that being said, I'm out of time, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.